you know that there are other really smart people out there that are trying to do these things, and mistakes happen. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us again. When we decided to move to the French Riviera, we imagined we were going to have long lunches. I was going to get to go for some morning swims. We were going to get to trips to the market every day. We were going to eat out of boulangeries and cafes. But as you can imagine, it hasn't gone exactly as we had planned.
In this video, we're sharing some of what we got wrong, some of the struggles and surprises that we're dealing with in our new life in France, from customer service issues to language frustrations to furniture hunting. This is what it's like to pick up your life from the US and move to another country.
And the number one thing that we got wrong is concerning the port area. That is, we misjudged it from the start.
When we were doing our research and we were watching everybody's videos about moving to Nice, we were really focused on the kind of central Nice area, the Carré d'Or area.
The Old Town area, something in that really close to the downtown area.
And we kind of wanted Nice at our doorstep.
Yes.
We were very surprised when our agent wanted to show us a place in the port. We were okay with it, but we weren't exactly excited about it. We were excited about the apartment.
Yes.
But we weren't super excited about the location.
I think the word would be skeptical.
And some of the reasons we were skeptical is because it did seem a little bit more out of the way, and it just seemed a little quieter.
And I was a little skeptical about the beach areas. Well, I was completely wrong about the beach areas. The beach areas over here in the port area are wonderful. They're kind of rocky and small and secluded. But given that, it means there's not very many people there. And most of the people that are there on any given day, especially during the weekday, are locals. And it's a really nice place to go and sit by the beach. We try to go down there at least once a week to watch the sunset as well. And it's this kind of rocky coast area. It's just absolutely beautiful. But that's turned out to be a huge, huge positive.
For me, the thing I was most skeptical about was it seemed a little sleepier here in the port area. What I found is I really appreciate that the port area is just a little bit more quiet than the center of town. So I think the lesson learned here is you may come to Nice with some preconceived notions of where you want to be, but just keep an open mind, because where you think you might want to be may not actually end up being the best place for you. And that could be another reason for renting versus buying right off the bat.
Right. The second issue that we may have underestimated the impact is the language issue. Okay. One should never underestimate how isolating it can feel not being able to speak the language to the locals. Now we are getting along just fine, but it's a little bit more frustrating than we had expected it was going to be. Brandy, do you agree with that statement?
So I absolutely agree with that statement, and I think it's even a little bit more frustrating for me. I didn't have any French in school. And so Todd and I started taking lessons at the beginning of this year in January. So at this point, I've been taking lessons either through Alliance Française in Houston or with a private tutor online through Preply. And I've been doing this now for about 5 months with classes once a week or twice a week.
Twice a week, yeah.
And I'm still really struggling, kind of picking it up, speaking it, understanding it. And it is a little isolating. And I feel like, there are some things I intentionally don't do because I'm nervous that I won't they'll speak French and I won't understand and I won't be able to do what I wanna do. So I think, and this is on me, 100% on me, that, you have to be comfortable with being in uncomfortable situations and be comfortable with putting yourself out there and making mistakes
Yes.
and not understanding. There's plenty of ways to do it. There's translation apps.
Yeah.
y- People want to work with you. They're friendly. They're not going to be dismissive, but still, you have to make the effort to put yourself out there. So what we are doing is we have signed up for classes here. We will be doing semi-intensive classes, which is 20 hours a week, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I'm hoping after a month of that, I will have some confidence in French where I can at least start conversations and feel confident enough that I can make it through daily interactions a little bit more confidently.
She doesn't believe me when I tell her that she's going to get there because right now it feels impossible. And again, if you're one of those people that is just having a lot of trouble with the language, give it some time, and you really need to get comfortable with making mistakes and not being able to speak another language the way that you do English. That's a tough hurdle, but once you get over that, making mistakes doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, and that's how you learn the language, speaking and making
Making
mistakes.
mistakes.
That's how you learn it.
The next thing we got wrong in our planning stage was this idea of furnished versus an unfurnished apartment. When we came into this, we had sold off all of our stuff, downsized completely, and we're searching for a furnished apartment. We, of course, landed on the ground, and if any of you have been following our story, you know there was just no inventory with furnished apartments, and we only saw unfurnished apartments while we were here, and that is what we ended up signing. Far from being a bad thing, it has actually been wonderful.
It's actually been a very good thing. And we also discovered along the way that most of the time when you get a furnished apartment, the furnishings might not be up to your standard.
When we had furnished apartments in our mind, what we were thinking of is something that would be furnished like a high level Airbnb, the kind of Airbnbs that have the 5-star ratings that you book when you're going to come stay for a couple of weeks. In our mind, that's kind of what we were thinking about. We would be able to get a furnished apartment like that. And it turns out that that's not what furnished apartment means, at least here in France. That when you get a furnished apartment, the furnishings are not gonna be great. They might just have the basic level, but it's probably not going to be Airbnb quality.
Now, we've been in a couple of apartments here, um, of people that rented furnished apartments that are just absolutely gorgeous. So, they are available. We just didn't find them.
Between IKEA, between the secondhand furniture stores, between the markets,
Yes.
it's actually been a fun adventure setting up the apartment, and we've now bought a couple of French antiques, and, it's slowly coming together. It's only about halfway full,
Yeah.
but we've got enough to make it a home.
Yeah. So the lesson that we learned is you should not be scared of an unfurnished apartment. If you're thinking about a furnished place, maybe you should take a shot on an unfurnished apartment. You might just really enjoy all of the treasure hunting that comes with finding great furniture. The next issue that we wanted to talk about was something that we think we actually got right, and that is the cost of living. We had originally, before doing any planning at all, expected that the cost of living in the French Riviera just to be insanely high. You think about it's Monaco, it's Saint-Tropez, and it's Nice and it's Cannes, and we're like, okay, that's got to be an amazingly expensive place. And we did some investigation and we found out that cost of living is fairly close to the city of Houston, which is where we lived last in the United States. But it turns out that it might even be a little cheaper than that.
So when we did our initial cost comparison, the cities that we were able to compare were Paris and Houston. And those two came out as being very comparable, which really surprised us because we think of Paris being a very expensive city.
Mhm.
Now, Nice, not the cheapest city in France by any stretch of the imagination, but cheaper than Paris. And I think the cost of living calculator showed about 30% less
Right.
than the cost of living in Nice being about 30% less than the cost of living in Paris. I've done some comparison shopping in the grocery store, and I went and I bought some stuff at our little grocery store here at our corner market, and then I got my app out from HEB and typed it in as if I was buying it in the United States. And the grocery cost was about 15% less
Here.
here in Nice
It
than in Houston, than
Mhm.
what we would buy for the comparable item in Houston. And I'm actually gonna say groceries are gonna be even cheaper than that. So on a cost by cost item, 15% less, but you're also shopping every day. So you're only buying what you're gonna eat that day or the next day. So there's no waste and there's not a lot of junk food. You're not buying all that snacky food. I find that I'm buying when I'm in the United States. We're kind of just buying what we're gonna have for lunch, what we're gonna have for dinner, and if we're gonna snack on anything, it's some baguette and, brie, yeah, which is very inexpensive here. The other thing I did a cost comparison on is kind of our last 5 going out to dinner meals in Houston compared to our last 5 dining out meals here in Nice, and the ones in Nice came in about 15% less as well.
It really is quite affordable from a couple that came from Houston. We are saving money on eating in, and we're saving money on eating out.
And of course, we realize, Nice compared to other cities is going to be more expensive.
Right.
But again, if you're comparing to a larger US city, still looks like you're going to save money living here.
Mhm. Mhm. One of the words that we have had to become much more comfortable with in France than in the United States is this word patience. They always tell you patience is a virtue. Here, it is also a requirement for daily living.
When we first moved into the apartment, it was brand new, newly renovated. They were just finishing up some final issues. As a matter of fact, we met with the contractor when we moved in and talked about a handful of things that still needed to get done. And one of those was the AC needed to get fixed.
The AC didn't work. Oh,
Well,
and by the way, it still doesn't.
they knew it didn't work, and they assured us it was going to be fixed
Soon.
soon, immediately. We were trying to adapt to the French lifestyle, and we contacted the contractor, and he would take about a week to get back to us. And then once we stopped hearing from the contractor, we started contact the letting agent, and it would take her about a week to get back to us. And now it's been 5 weeks. We still have not had AC, and it's finally becoming a problem.
And thankfully, we have ceiling fans. We're not dying. By the time that we get the AC contractor in here to fix the air conditioning, it will have been 6 weeks since we moved in.
So you hear all of these stories about things taking a long time and a slower pace of life. We are here to tell you that that is absolutely true. Lesson learned. Things take a long time to get done, and if you have something important like getting an AC fixed, you get started on that immediately. Do not wait. And make sure you're calling every week and following up, and I don't care if you're the annoying Americans.
It's been a disappointment, but it has also been a learning experience for us. One is that we know that we can survive without AC, but also that things just happen at a different pace here, and you've got to be comfortable with that. Here's a short list of the stuff that we totally got right. Number 1, the weather. The weather is beautiful. It has been a little bit warm this week, And it may get up to, the high 80s, maybe even as high as 90. It doesn't get much hotter than 90 here. But then at night, it generally cools down,
Mm.
right? And so, weather is just beautiful. We go out walking every day. It's wonderful. Living at the beach, absolutely, that is what I wanted to do. We finally get the opportunity, and it's everything we could have imagined. It is so beautiful here.
The other things that have been absolutely fantastic is the transportation from Nice to the rest of Europe. We've only been here a handful of weeks. I've already been to Brussels. I've been to Paris, both times to see my niece who was doing a study abroad program. And so just being here so centrally located, so easy to travel around. So, yes, there have been a few bumps, but honestly, we wouldn't trade this experience for the world.
Mm-mm.
Moving to France has had its surprises, some of them frustrating, most of them amazing, but it does require you to be flexible, to be adventurous, and to be patient.
Most importantly, patient.
If you're thinking about moving abroad or just curious what it's like, leave a comment or question below. We'd love to hear from you.
And as usual, thank you so much. Thank you so much for going on this journey with us. It wouldn't be nearly as fun without you.